This is Jimmy. The first mistake Jimmy made was checking the answer key right after attempting a single question. Now, you may think, what's wrong with that? Isn't that a very efficient way of practicing given the limited time that we have? Well, then my question to you will be, why do you always have the same repeated experience of not being able to finish the paper in time and always being stuck, not knowing where or how to begin for the exam questions? That's because when you are doing one question and then immediately checking the answer, you are number one, not simulating exam conditions at all, and number two, you are giving up the opportunity to think on your feet because you know that the answer will be fed to you immediately once you give up. So, the solution to this problem is to simply sit through the whole paper under time conditions. No phones, no music, no distractions. Not only will you be more accustomed to the real exam conditions, delaying the gratification of knowing what's the answer will force you to think actively on how to approach and answer these questions. The second overlooked mistake that Jimmy made was memorizing his notes without consciously making any links or connections. You see, what most students do is that when it's time to prepare for exams, yes, they study their lecture notes, but they always find themselves starting from zero every single time, as if they are relearning the entire chapter all over again. But if you want to achieve mastery of this topic or subject, you cannot be passively trying to absorb information and expect to do well. Instead of just scratching the surface of each topic every time, what you should do is actively try to make different links and connections between each individual concept and spot if there are any common patterns. This way, you are stacking your knowledge of this topic, building on what you already know the next time you revisit this chapter. For example, in trying to remember the reagents and conditions for organic chemistry, instead of memorizing every single reaction, you can make the connection that, hey, I noticed that lithium aluminium hydride in dry ether always appears in reduction reactions, regardless of the organic compound, suggesting that lithium aluminium hydride in dry ether is a pretty universal reducing agent and PCl5 is usually involved in substitution reactions. This way, once you see these two compounds, you won't have to think twice to know what they are used for. And last but not least, the third mistake is not studying the actual exam questions itself. Let me tell you the harsh truth. All of that painful nights of studying, grinding exam questions, consulting your teachers all mean nothing if you are not able to perform during the actual exams. It's just like applying for a job. Yeah, sure, you can have the best, the most well-prepared portfolio, but ultimately, what will decide you getting the job or not? How well you perform during the interview. For example, in science subjects such as chemistry, each type of exam paper has their own style. So take note of number one, on a macro level, how many questions does this particular exam paper typically have? Number two, how long are each of these questions and how many marks are they usually worth? And number three, on a more micro level, after practicing a few exam papers, do you see any similar types of questions repeating? If you do, note this down so that next time you see a similar question, you will immediately know what kind of answer is expected out of you. This way, you have already won 50% of the battle because you are mentally prepared. And just by making these 3 small tweaks to his study methods and binge watching these other videos over here, Jimmy was back to his positive and confident self again.